While we do this, let me go ahead and add this on.
Shit.
What's up, buddy?
See me? Can
Yes,
you hear me?
I can see you. I can hear you. I might have to turn you up a
Alright.
little bit.
I can turn myself up.
Oh,
Oh,
for
no,
sure.
never mind. No, I can't.
Oh, rip. How's it going, buddy?
I literally just got in the door and ate and was watching you talk about splitting bands.
Oh,
Or not
fair
splitting
enough.
bands, about creating a fundamental.
Yeah. There's a bit of crackle right now. Let me try a different server. Oh, there we
It's
go.
me. Give me 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, take your time. Take your time. I'm gonna get this set up. Um. So let me do window capture.
I love Focusrite.
I know. There we go. Let me. How do you crop in OBS? I'm not.
I think it's Alt or Shift or Control.
I think it's Alt. Yeah. There we go. There we go. There we go. So let me go ahead and cut this down. So how's it going?
It's going, man.
It's going. How was your class?
I had to write about moss.
Oh boy. Fun, fun. Oh, there we go.
Environmental writing.
Environmental.
Writing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, why don't we start off by you introducing yourself to the few people in here who don't know you. I'm sure most people know who you are, but let's just start with kind of like, who is Carter? What is the Carter story? How did you get to where you are now?
I'm Carter. I make music. That's like kind of whatever. I make all sorts of genres. I kind of only release like one genre, but I make all the genres. I got to music. Originally, I was an art person. When I graduated high school, I was like going to go to art school. And then I decided that I didn't like drawing that much and I didn't want to draw for other people. And then I worked in a bunch of really shitty jobs and I found music after I like went through like a super hardship in my life, and then I just needed something that was like a hobby that I could do every day, and I just grinded music for like the last 3 years, like 6 hours or more a day, like 2 or 3 breaks of more than a day, and that's it.
Oh, for
And
sure.
I don't really, I don't know, my brand. I don't really have a brand. I just kind of want my brand to be myself and whatever. Like I don't. I want to build everything on my music around like you shouldn't feel like you have to fit a mold. Like you should just be able to do whatever you want.
I'm with that. I'm with that. Like, well, how did you get into music then? Like, if you started off with drawing.
I went to actually I listened to what's Caspa and Rusko in like 2012,
Oh, for sure.
like so much. And then I got Reason actually back then and tried to make dubstep and could not do it. Fuck, that shit was so hard. And then that was the first experiment, and then I like just like kind of like would open up Reason or whatever and just mess around, and I never really did anything. And then I don't know, I just like I went and saw Porter Robinson on Worlds Tour in 2014 and was like, damn, I want to make music like this. And then I downloaded, oh, get a phone call. And then I was downloaded Ableton and was like, all right, I'm gonna try this for real. And it didn't go anywhere. And then again in 2016, I downloaded Ableton and I was like, I'm gonna try this for real again. And didn't go anywhere. And then like a year later, I had Ableton and I was like really down and I was like, all right, fuck it. Like, I guess we're doing it for real this time. And I like didn't have anything else to do and I just cranked it out.
For sure.
That's pretty much it.
I'm with that. Well, it's like, um, what made you decide like to really, really go in? Like, was there something that was going on in your life, or did you just, you didn't have any reason not to?
Yeah, I needed something to keep my mind busy. I was really depressed, and I really needed something that I could like do and stay consistent with, and something that when I came home, I didn't feel like I was just wasting time and like waiting to go to bed. Like I needed something that I could work towards. And I wasn't like I hadn't gone back to college yet. So that was like the year before I'd gone back to college. And then I don't think without music, like I wouldn't have gone back to school. I don't think I'd be like as happy as I am. Like it made me like kind of figure out, maybe not a routine, like I still don't have like a routine,
Hmm.
but it made me find something that I really want to be good at. I've never had anything in life that I felt I was good at, and I was like, I want to be good at this. So
I'm with that. Well, so what are you doing right now? I mean, I know a couple of things that you're doing, but I don't know what you want me to say. So, what is currently going on in the world of Carter, musically speaking?
uh music, well, like apparently I'm not supposed to, I mean I kind of leaked it already. But I'm talking to like a gigantic, well, that's what we'll call it, an
Yeah.
enormous label presence in the world. And it's pretty much the biggest opportunity I've ever had in my life. And I mean, it's crazy. Like it's the kind of stress that's good. Like it's the stress like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, like this could happen.
Hmm.
But it's also like, it's made me not want to work with me. No, okay. I have to respond to what Rocco said. Okay, NCS and Monster Cat and 99 Lives and all those no copyright like YouTuber labels. I don't consider those real labels. This is like a real boy label.
This is a
Anyways,
label that has royalties.
yeah, this is a label that tours the world, let's say. Um anyways, so with that it's like I'm stressed kind of about that, and another thing I have going is like I have like 3 or 4 songs that are like I've been trying to get on Majestic Casual and like talking to those guys and Night Owl and stuff like that. I've just kind of like everything I've released recently has been stuff that I literally made in probably 3 days. I would say the last 3 tracks I made and released, I made in less than 2 weeks. And I was like, I'm just gonna release these. But all my like haters are just sitting waiting to be released. Like I just gotta start sending more emails and stuff.
Hmm. I'm with that.
So yeah, so quick. I just make music fast when I feel it. When I vibe with something, I make it and I want to get it out because I know if I sit on it, I'll never release it.
Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I kind of want to talk more about that kind of stuff, like your workflow and process, in a little bit. But just to kind
Yeah.
of keep going with a little bit of the background, like, well, what kind of music did you listen to, like, growing up, before you really got into making
Oh,
music?
dude, alternative. Blink 182, Sum 41, uh, Green Day, fucking all that shit, bro. My
Hmm.
brother, my brother owned a record label. He was co-owner to a record label, and they did like the scene music, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
time, and that's what I grew up on, like Simple Plan, and all that stuff was like. I probably know all the words to like a bunch of Fall Out Boy songs, and I still love all that music. Like I could still listen to that music every day. But and like I wanted to be in a band, everyone did. But I was more like kind of into like jazzy stuff myself. Like I played brass, so I wanted to be jazz.
Oh, I dig that. I dig that.
So
I mean, do you think that like influenced the kind of music you make now? Because I know like jazz brass bands, like they're very harmonically focused, and I notice from your music you're very like harmonically minded. You're thinking a lot about the chord progressions and how the
yeah.
track flows. So like, would you say that like the music you listened to growing up influenced you, or more kind of like the stuff that you listened to when you started to get into music as a production side of things?
I would say that just comes from like I tell myself like I don't produce emotionally. Like a lot of people produce from emotion. And like even though depression is what got me into music, I don't produce and like put my emotions into my song per se. But I have a feeling that I want to come out of my music based solely on the chords. And usually those chords dictate how the song is going to go. And I don't think it's like a lot of jazz influence. I just enjoy, I think jazz music and like R&B has this down to a T, is where if you just play jazz music or R&B, you literally like if you were to just play the chords, let's just the chords. It's very melancholy. Like anything can go with it, happy or sad.
Hmm.
Like it doesn't really matter, and it's just very neutral feeling because that's how I am. Like I'm not an emotional person. I don't get mad easy. Like I'm always pretty like happy. I'm very content with everything, and
Hmm.
that's the feeling I want to portray.
I'm with that. I'm with that. Like, is there anything outside of music that you consider an influence on either your career journey or in terms of like your sound?
Definitely where I live. A lot of people don't know that like I grew up. I didn't have internet till I was 16. I literally grew up, and I live here now, but I don't live in the same town.
Hmm.
But I grew up 20 miles from the nearest grocery store. Like I grew up in the woods, and
Oh, for sure.
I love like in all my songs, I try to make, dude, call me a reverb slut because I fucking put. I love like a big space. Like literally, the best feeling in the world is we go and pick huckleberries a lot up in the mountains,
Hmm.
and like when you just stand there and it's super quiet and the wind is all around you and stuff like that, and it's amazing. Like that feeling of like being in a place and it's just like really relaxing. Like I that's a huge influence to me.
Oh, for sure. I'm with that. Like, do you think? I mean, you mentioned that you know, basically, if it wasn't for getting into music, you might not have gone back to school. Like, do you think like that has
Yep.
kind of like a give and take kind of feedback loop where it's like school influences your music, or are they more separate?
I think school influences my music when I take classes that are kind of around that. Like right now, like I guess the only class that really influences my or last semester, that's actually last semester better thing. I had this class where literally all I wrote about we had to write about like science, technology, and like the human understanding. So I wrote about like how what if we like all live in a simulation? Like I kind of wrote about like simulation theory,
Hmm.
and then I made a bunch of like Porter Robinson style music, like because that's like Porter Robinson's whole thing.
Yeah, the
And
simulation
I was
stuff.
like, it does stuff like that because all my writing, like I'm an English major, so when I do a lot of writing, a lot of my influence in my music or a lot of influence in my writing comes from music I'm listening to because a lot of artists that I listen to have like a brand or a image associated with their music that is like a like Porter started this like a world, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I influence that into my writing more than the other way around for sure.
Oh, cool. I dig that. So, with that in mind, like, do you think that your music um, is similar to what you were making, like when you first started, or do you think there's been like big evolutions in your sound? Like, not thinking about like production
Massive.
quality. Okay, for sure.
Yeah, when I first started, it was I wanted to be four on the floor. I wanted to be Dead Mouse when I first started.
For sure.
Dead Mouse, or not well when I very first started, right? And I didn't know shit. I just wanted to make dubstep because I thought the sounds were cool. But like when I got into music, I wanted to be Dead Mouse because everyone did, and like Dead Mouse was blowing up, like absolutely massive at that point. And like I could get his synth sounds down, but I could never like I didn't understand it, you know? Like I didn't
Hmm.
understand it's a lot more than just a saw wave and arps.
Yeah.
And then I discovered literally through Spotify, like on Discover Weekly. I don't know how I found him, but I discovered Electric Mantis, and that changed everything. I
Okay.
found one song by Electric Mantis, and I was like, "Yo, this is where I want to be. Like, this is what I want to make." And it changed from Electric Mantis. I found Medicine, Jay Kutch, Sober Rob, all those guys I found from Electric Mantis showing up on my Discover Weekly.
Oh, cool. I dig that. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like because it sounds like you've had a really like rapid development in your sensibility and your style as an artist, and like even in like the past like 8 months that we've known each other, like. I mean, not really eight. I guess it would be like about 6 or 7 at this point, but close. We're getting close.
Yeah.
Like I feel as though your sound has evolved just in that short time. So I was curious if like it was just something that you were trying to find a way to get out, or if it's something that you stumbled upon.
It's what I wanted to make originally, or not originally, I should say. So like when I started releasing music and like being happy with my music, I've always wanted to make chill stuff. Like I've never wanted to, like I mean, of course I want to make a heater here and there, like things that I know would just like go off because I just enjoy that. But like the music that makes me feel the most satisfied and I'm the most pleased making is the stuff that's like very chill. Like I like a lot of medicine influence. Like is that's the best way to describe it. Is like if I made songs like that, like I'm very happy with it, or like R&B.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with that. I mean, It's definitely like the medicine influence definitely shines through. The R&B is definitely there. I can hear a lot of that. But let's shift focus a little bit and start going into how you write these songs. So
Sure.
we talked about this a little bit, but are there like two songs that you'd want to show off? We could go on to like your Spotify or your SoundCloud and take a listen to some tracks, or you could send me some stuff. I was hoping to do like one release, one work in progress that you're willing to share.
Yeah, I'll link you to.
Cool.
I'll link you kind of. I guess this is a song I'm the most happy with in a long time. So there's this one that's released. I'll just put it in the Discord.
Okay.
And then unreleased is this one.
For sure. We'll start with this one. Do you want to like listen along with the stream, or do you want to play at the same time? Because the idea is like if there's any point you want to pause and talk about something, we can, or we can just kind of talk about it at the end.
No, you can. I'll play it through with you, and you just tell me if you like want to know something, or if anybody has any questions, I can just explain it. So
Okay.
just tell me when you hit play, and I'll hit play.
For sure. So I'll go on 3. So 1, 2, 3.
I'm gonna play it pretty low. That way I can like still hear
Okay.
talk. The piano plays that the other one.
Last lately, I don't know why.
Ooh.
I awake at 3 a.m. I try to sleep outside.
All right, I'm going to pause at the transition at around 41 seconds.
All right.
So, did you start with the intro, or did you start with the drop that we're getting into in a little bit?
So this is actually like this is different than I usually do it. This whole song started from this point right now that just hit.
Oh, okay.
The like sine wave chords that just came in. If you like just play like 5 seconds, you'll hear like the first chord.
Okay.
Like that's how the whole song started. So I was actually inspired by a friend of mine. His name's Ricky or Dream Kiddo. He has these songs and he calls it like lo-fi house pop. I don't know what the fuck he calls it. Anyways, it's like sine waves essentially just distorted. And I was like, but they sound so full. How do you do that? And anyways, so that was my first attempt, was making those chords. And so like that was my drop. I was like, that's gonna be the drop right
Okay.
there. And then I just started. My process when developing a song is like I literally duplicate the same sound like 5 times, and then just do a different bunch of different effects and like maybe change one wavetable. And then from there I can build the sound as big as I want and change it however I want. So that's where I started. And this song, the only original thing from the original song is like the chord progression. I like kind of stole his like chords, even though mine are like I have a little more dissonance in my chords, and I took the vocal, and that's pretty much the only thing that's original from his.
Okay. And I'm noticing a little bit of processing on these vocals. Like I heard a phaser at one point. Did you
Yeah.
add that in?
That's actually a happy accident. So when the chords hit and the voice hit at the same time, I have a vocoder, and for some reason, I had a velocity sensitive on Serum, and that chord is like slammed. And so when it hit the vocoder, it came through it super loud, and it like destroyed the vocal right there. But it sounded cool, so I kept it.
Oh, for sure. That's
And
dope.
I have no idea how that happened. And then because you can tell the very first hit of the song, the piano's like a little loud, and it just repeats right there. But I'm using a different instrument, and it's the same issue. But it worked in my favor for the vocal.
Nice. And I
But
also
a lot of the
yeah.
the vocal processing, a lot of the vocal processing on this, like when it gets to like the like coming in and out of hers and his, that's all me just moving around. Because originally it was like his section, her section, and like a little back and forth. But I put a lot of it just on top of each other because they just repeat each other a lot. So
That makes sense. I dig. No, the vocals are really, really clean. I'm also noticing very, very faintly, I heard like kind of nature sounds and bird calls like underneath. Where'd you get that sample?
I just dig for like bird samples. Like you can just find bird samples on Splice too.
Oh, for
And
sure.
then I have a static that I use that if I reverb the static and then if I like just drown it in reverb and then I band pass it, it sounds just like rain.
Oh, that's cool.
So I just band pass this reverb and it sounds just like rain. So I use that as like the rain. And then the wind, there's like it sounds kind of like a wind effect. If I get an LFO, a Max for Live LFO, and put it on the band and have it just barely move with like a little bit of resonance, it sounds like a wind.
Oh, for sure. All right, I'm gonna jump back a little bit to about 40 seconds and play from there.
All right.
I watch the stars fall, stars fall away. I hear the moon call.
All right, I'm pausing at about 116. So what can you tell us about the build into the drop? Because it's not really like you have a build and like a classical EDM sense, but the way that you pull everything out, it provides that same sort of tension, and it kind of understates the chorus in a way that I really like. So I'm curious about like kind of what your process was in writing both this transition and the drop.
Well, I think clap and like drum build-ups, unless it's orchestral, are like super cheesy because I think that like your music loses accessibility that way. I think like I call this Spotify music because of the fact that anyone can listen to this and it's not like, oh, I'm gonna get fucking hyped, like it's coming. Like I just want it to be like, oh yeah, like release, like that feeling of like this is the good shit, like this is the spot, you know? And so what I do is I'll take back all my elements and I'll get some reverb, I'll reverse some stuff. And I'm like, okay, like when this hits, like the bass comes in. Maybe before this, like I have bass, but that's just me not EQing everything and I automate the EQs to turn on once the drop hits and I really drive the bass.
Oh, for sure. And then it sounds like you're doing a little bit of reverb throws.
Yeah, there's tons of, so I use like a washout rack, which is actually used for build-ups. It's like Endless Smile, but it's a washout rack in Ableton that someone made.
Yeah, the bass clef one.
Yeah, the bass clef one. And if I catch like the last 30-second of a bar, I get like artifacts, like the little clicking, you'll hear it between like right before the reverb like cuts off again and the next chord hits, it like clicks and it sounds like really textured and it's like almost lo-fi. And that's a chorus effect because I have chorus on the chords and I'm driving it. So when I have a reverb throw like that, I am also automating the volume so that otherwise it would just be really quiet. And so you get those artifacts from the effect of that, and it just makes it sound a little prettier, gives a little more to it.
I dig it. Anything else you think we could point out in here before we move forwards?
The bass doesn't move. Like I wanted contrast and a lot of future bass, like a lot of people I notice. I think if you're doing big future bass, like big emotional future bass, your bass should just automatically follow your chords. But if you're doing things that are like more chill, like it's really good to have that contrast. Like the bass like is what just makes your head bob. Like you're not bobbing to the chords because the chord rhythm's kind of like slow and just happens. It's not really a rhyme or reason to it. But the bass in itself is what puts the bump to it.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Let me listen to that. So I'm going to go back to about like 1 minute, 10 seconds, and go from there.
I can't stop myself from thinking.
I'm going to stop at 130. Can you talk about those kind of layers? Because I heard kind of like this upper, almost chiptune-y kind of melody coming in. Could you talk about that?
So do you guys know, if you guys know Music by Zen, he's in chat. He always has these like really cool plucky melodies, and I never know how he makes them. Well, he has a sample pack, and he had this like really cool melody in a completely different key than mine. So I just jacked like 2 of the chops out of that, like of his like square lead that he makes that sounds kind of broken, and I just tuned them to the right key. And then I think they're bit crushed or they're like comb filtered, and then they have a utility, and I just drew in an automation so that they like bounce between each note, and then they like get shorter or longer, and it just creates like the like texture. Like I wanted the song to be very textured,
Yeah.
like ear candy, you know.
Oh, yeah, I
And I
did-
used that. I didn't want it as a lead. I did not want it as a lead. I wanted it as like just there. you
Yeah,
know?
just an additional element that follows the rhythm of the chords.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's something that I notice in a lot of your work is there's generally like one primary rhythm, and you add in like all these other things that on their own they have like very separate rhythms, but they all like connect back to the primary emotions of I guess for this it would be your chords. And I feel like that's a good Carter hallmark. It's just kind of like this really tight rhythmic language where the drums kind of fill in all the stuff that this main rhythm isn't going for.
And that comes from like boom bap. Like boom bap style hip hop is like my favorite. Like 90s like Wu-Tang and all that. How you could just like bob your head to it all the time. Like I want my music to be like that. Like I never want you to feel like, oh, I can just stand still to this. Like I never want like just a listening experience. Like I want it more than that always. So I always like, I think like a centered rhythm, like house music, right? But I'm doing it in my own way to where like it makes you want to move your head no matter what.
I could dig it. I mean, it's really clean. I'm gonna jump back like a couple seconds, and we're basically gonna be starting from 130.
I'm thinking it's in my mind, and I won't pretend that I'm not thinking, but hearts are blind. I watch the stars fall for you. Stars fall your way. I hear the moon call.
Starting about 210. All right, so tell us about like it sounds almost like processed vocals coming in over top of that. Is that what they are? Kind of like these
Yeah,
big soaring melodies.
So the vocals are just like hard layered with themselves, because if you layer a vocal, like if you just take a vocal and then duplicate it, it phases and it creates like this really like kind of robot-y feel, because like it cuts some of the words out. But if you do that and then you stereo shape so one is mono and one is normal and one is vocoded, right? Like they still phase a little bit, but like it's a cool effect. Like the effect of it is what I wanted. Like I wanted to feel like really wispy and like kind of just sitting on, like it's floating, right? Like it sounds like she's floating on top. Like if you were to picture this in your head, like the song is the clouds and like it's Peter Pan flying above the clouds. Is like the way to like
I dig
do it in
it.
your head.
Yeah, it also sounds like this drop is a little bit louder. Like there's more
Yeah.
stuff to the chords. Like the chords feel a little bit bigger. Was that intentional?
Yeah, so the chords on this drop have when I'm moving the LFO, the cutoff is opening a little bit higher. And it's just because on this drop, like I wanted more energy to like I'm funny. My structure in my songs is always like first drop is like a tease, like oh yeah, like this is a vibe, and then the second drop is like all right, and then the song ends. You know, like you built up towards it.
Okay, for sure. I'm with that. It honestly, it kind of reminds me of like and a little bit of like dubstep arrangement where like, you know, the second
Yeah.
drop is the hype drop.
Or progressive house is like another way. Like I'm progressing
yeah.
towards something the entire song.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm going to hop back just a couple of seconds to about like 2 minutes and go from there.
All right.
I hear the moon call.
piano did you use here?
I think that's just a giant, and it is. I have a sidechain trigger, and it's cutting the beginning of the chord, so it feels just like super soft.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
And it's drowned in reverb, a little bit of decay, and it's super low velocity.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a raid. Thank you to Retired Orphan for that raid. How's it going? Sorry. Do you want to finish that up? Sorry, you kind of got cut off a little bit by the raid sound. So what were you saying?
Just like low velocity. If you ever want a really good sound, actually, there's a free piano I just got. Let me open it up. I got this piano that Dream Kiddo, the person that I was saying that this was inspired by, like the beginning of it, told me to get. It's free. And it's called like Felt Piano or something like that. Upright Felt Piano. It's by Westwood Instruments. It is free. And if you're ever trying to make like some like lo-fi or like a very emotional piano, that's the shit.
Okay. I'm just pulling it up so that I can link it in chat.
Yeah, it's free too.
There we go. I dig
Oh,
it.
yeah, you found it.
Nice.
And there's so many effects on it. I don't like the saturator effect on it. It kind of destroys the piano for me. But that is a really, really good piano.
Oh, for sure. Are
And
there?
it's free.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the best part, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about in this remix? Like, well, I guess if, I'll let you answer the question first before I go.
I don't know. I just think like the only thing I problem I see with a lot of remixes is a lot of people try to keep true to the original, and like I did in the sense that I kept true to the original artist. Like if you listen to 92 stuff, it's very like this, like R&B-ish with like these kind of chords like sine wavy. So I try to keep true to the original artist, but not the original song. His original version of this song is like pretty much all like real instruments, very little synth work.
Oh, for sure.
So I try to like bring it back to his other stuff.
No, that's cool. I mean, I think that's definitely a good approach. Is like not to get too tied up in the original.
Yeah.
So I guess what we can talk about is like how was this remix for you? Like, did you find anything particularly challenging? Did you feel like you learned anything special from the remix while you were working on it?
I'm funny. I hate remixing stuff. I am so bad at remixing songs. So he released the project file, and I just immediately was like, I love these vocals. Like, I already have an idea in my head of what I want to do. I listened to his original. I was like, I mean, this sounds kind of fucked up, but I was like, I wish he would have done it this way. And I just made it the way that I had heard it, because I was basing it, like, I referenced him and his other music. And I was like, this is how I'm going to do it. And it was cool. Like, he gave me a shout out, and like, he was in my stream while I worked on it. I made that whole song in like a day and a half and just grinded it out. I was like, I vibed with it so much, and I was like, can I release this? And he was like, yeah, of course. Like, just credit the artist.
Oh, I dig it. Like, so do you usually stream like all of your production? Because I remember you say like sometimes streaming can be a bit of a hindrance.
90% of the time, I'm not streaming when I'm actually planning on finishing anything.
Oh, I dig that.
So if I get in the zone and like really feel with what I'm making, like I'll just leave on my stream and I'll finish a whole song on stream. I've done that like 3 times.
For sure.
I finished an entire production on stream, or at least like everything, but like maybe some mixing and mastering, or like just like little tweaks.
Yeah. No, I get that.
So
Yeah. So let's move on to Miss You and give that a listen. Now, this is not one that I can link inside of the chat because this is a whip. So anyone asking if this song is released, this song is definitely not released yet. But let's take a listen to this. I'm going to start it in 3, 2, and 1.
Don't be late. I miss you. Don't be late. I want you. Don't be late. I miss you.
I'm gonna stop at 48 seconds. So, I mean, I have my own kind of pet question, but to start, like, what can you tell us about like how this song got started?
Okay, so if you guys have ever heard Moniker by Underscores, there was like 2 days where I'm pretty sure it's the only song I listened to. And I was like, man, I really wish I could make music like Underscores. So I just sat there and wrote chords for like 6 hours. And then the next day I was like streaming. It's like I wrote these chords, and I noticed in his track he does this thing where he's like 1, 2, 3, stop. 1, 2, 3, stop. And he does it 3 times, or he does it 2 times, and then on the third time he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And I was like, man, that's like a really cool idea. Like that builds so much tension, never resolving your progression. And so I just kept doing that until like I had an idea, and then so I was just trying like vocoder techniques, like her voice. Like you hear a lot of sub in the beginning.
Yes.
It's not a sub. I just I transposed the vocal down like 2 octaves, and then EQ'd everything but just the sub range of her vocal, and then ran it through a vocoder, and it sounds like a sub bass, but it's like perfectly with her voice.
Yeah, I heard that. Like it sounded like you had it almost like volume automation on the low end there. That's really cool.
So that's just her voice that's doing it, and I messed up. So like why this is a whip is like I'm either gonna go with a different vocal, just for the fact that the effect I'm going for sounds a lot better when the words aren't spoken quickly but really slowly and softly. So I might change it. I don't know yet.
Oh, for sure. And I also hear like whenever there's like an I, it sounds like there's like a higher pitched vocal.
Yep.
Yeah. How'd you make that?
Just a little altar boy, and then I did a 7 format, and then it's stereo, like super wide, like insanely wide.
Yeah, I dig it. Well, my little pet question is, if we go back closer towards the beginning, where is it? It's at about 14 seconds, 13, 14 seconds. Do you hear that like wind chime sound?
Yeah. So
where is that from?
That is what is that?
Because it sounds like it reminds, like, the only reason why I ask is because it sounds just like the chime in like one of the video games that I've been playing over like the past like year or so.
It is a percussion element that I took from Louis Vuitton or either Medicine, and it's like it sounds like somebody hit the back of a pan.
Yeah.
And all I did was drown it in reverb and a ton of delay, and it kind of sounds like sparkly. And then it has a wind chime. Yeah, at the beginning, there's like a wind chime sample that I found, and I just tuned it to the right key. And then it just is delayed out. And it literally, you can't hear it, like it disappears, but it's there the entire intro.
Oh, so it's just kind of like moving.
Yeah, and then I automate that little like pan ding every so often that it comes back up in volume.
Okay, I dig that. All right, so let's move back to where we were. I'm going to start at 45 seconds.
Okay.
Stopping at about 138, right before the next transition. All right, so what can you tell us about like the drop? Because I'm hearing a lot of little like melodic turnarounds at the end of phrases, and I love that clap that comes in on the B-side.
So the drop started as just piano, and then I built a drum pattern, and I was like, I want really thumpy drums and like in a really organic snare. And so I just first I drowned everything in a lot of like delay and reverb, and then I like kind of got the pattern that I wanted of the chords to hit, and then I just went and changed the instruments to I have the synth that I use in like the same synth patch I use in like every song. And then under everything, I have the like you hear like the little like 8-bit lead come in.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually is playing the entire chords in the first drop. They're just really quiet, and it's like only the like really low end, and it's like just above sub range, but they're there. So that way, when it swells up at the end of phrases, like it's not really unexpected. It doesn't feel like it's coming out of nowhere, and it's subconscious, but it helps a lot. Like I notice in a lot of music that I listen to, like people finish out phrases with different instruments. I'm like, why doesn't this sound weird when I listen to their music? But when I just try adding a random instrument, like between my chords, it never sounds right. And then I figured out that like they're not like the element is there the whole time. It's just very very minuscule.
Yeah, then like volume automation to kind of bring out certain elements at and stuff, right?
Yeah.
For sure. Let's see. There was something else. Where is that? Yeah, the clap little loop at like about 118, 119. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That thing.
Like I said, that's from the Electric Mantis has a like sample pack, and he has this clap loop which is insane, and it's at like 160 BPM or whatever. I didn't even warp it into time. I was like, this is fucking awesome, and it's the perfect transition because I can cut everything, and there's so much going on in it that it's like its own little melodic thing because each clap sounds differently, and it's non-tonal, so it works as like a melodic element that isn't tonal, and it's just cool. I do that a lot. Like in a lot of my music, I'll use like really weird percussion that isn't like maybe in a key, and use that as like a fill instead of a synth.
Okay, for sure. Your voice is getting a little bit distorted.
2 seconds. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, all good. All good.
Dude, I love Focusrite. I love Focusrite. It's the best company in the world.
Yeah,
Please
those
sponsor me.
drivers. Hopefully we fixed it. Everyone in chat, sorry about that. But yeah, no, I mean, I dig it. It's, I mean, you seem to have a really good ear for sound selection to where I don't see you do a whole ton of processing on your specifically your percussion samples.
No, I'll click Whittler as a meme about me.
Oh, the Carter sample starter pack.
I would say out of the like 3,000 samples that I have, more than 80% of them are just percussion noises. And I will go through probably like 500 before I decide on like one. And then I'll just change that one. Like I'll process it just to change maybe the tone of it, or like I'll overdrive it to make it maybe more white noisy, or I'll frequency shift it. And that's all I'll do. And I'll use like either the same percussion or percussion that is very similar to it, because that's the sound I want. And then I already have like the space in the track designated for those type of sounds.
Cool.
Because when I make a song, I don't want to have to like go back and like do a ton of things. I want to build the song with each instrument having a place in the mix already.
Okay, so is there a lot of experimentation with that, or is it a lot of kind of like picking a sound and working with that?
It's like just trying hundreds of sounds. The only things that I use consistently are like I have like 3 or 4 kicks that I really really like, and I just use post processing on those. And I have like 4 or 5 snares that I really like, and I just fuck with those. But when it comes to percussion, except for like hi-hats, I probably use a different percussion sample in every song.
Oh, for sure.
So
Do you ever synthesize your own percussion or drums at all?
yeah, I have a ton of like hats and like weird little blips and stuff that I made. And I use those mainly as like fills or transitions because mine are very shitty, but they sound cool when they are like used in like a transition. Like it's degrading. I like it.
Yeah. Are there any of those in this tune?
Yeah, so like I think the off hat is like just like a little. I'm pretty sure I made it using a square wave and Serum, and then I just post processed it.
Oh, cool. Let me see if I can find that.
I don't know if it's in the mix version, but it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a shaker and there's like
Yeah, I hear
and it's
that.
like the louder one is the one that I made, and it's just I don't know. It sounds like just like a tick. Like it doesn't even sound like a hat to me. It sounds like a tick.
Yeah, I can hear that. That's cool. All right, so I'm gonna jump up to right at the start of that transition after drop one, where the sub enters.
Miss you.
All right, I'm stopping at about 232. So one thing I'm starting to notice on like the pluck that you're using for kind of like this chord slash melody in this little break right here, I'm noticing a lot of like transientness to it that's really, really soft, almost clicky kind of.
So when the pluck comes in to build into that last drop, I have an effect rack that turns on because originally I had a completely different pluck there. I had like a very 8-bitty, like really percussive pluck. And someone suggested, this is why I do listen to feedback, is someone was like, why don't you just use the same instrument and change it because then it will sound more natural. And so all I did was add an effect rack. And then it's when the pluck comes in the second time, instead of having my, like I was playing before, I was playing like a perfect fifth. I was playing like, I'd play a note and then the perfect fifth above it. And then I would have like single notes and then a perfect fifth above that. Well, in this drop, it's like just a note and then I'm playing the octave below it. Just so it feels a lot more bassy. And when that instrument is played lower, it sounds a lot more percussive.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because it almost sounds like OTT'd reverb, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think I have a saturator after my reverb, which I do a lot.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense.
So I saturate after my reverb. So when the reverb first hits, the sound goes into the saturator clipping, and then it goes into the reverb clipping through the saturator and then out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The way Ableton processes it, and it creates like kind of like a static to it.
Oh, I dig that. I dig that. Anything special that you want to tell us about the second drop?
Well, if you notice, like the melody doesn't change a lot in the whole song because I was trying something that some people told me, or not even people. I guess like some things I learned is like, in all Keche music, like the melody never really changes. The melody changes maybe one or two notes the entire song. It's just at how it's played, the instrument that's playing it, and maybe like the breaks between notes. The motif, right? Isn't that what that's called?
Yeah, the motive, yeah.
And so I'm playing the same motif throughout the song, and then at the very end it resolves, and like it has like it's almost resolving the entire time, like it feels like it is, but then at the very end of the song you'll get like the full like it's over.
The resolution.
Like, it makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's just let's go back to where we were. I'm at 230 right now. I'm just gonna let it play out. Nice. I'm also, now that we're done with this, I'm hearing a little bit of like a little blip, kind of like an offbeat whip that sounds almost like a video game or a cartoon sound.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's a cartoon sound I took from Vapor Cruise. I don't know what game or how he made it, but it sounds just like someone slipping on like a banana peel.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
So good.
That's
I use that
dope.
as like I try to add like a percussive element every 2 bars.
Mm-hmm.
So like every 2 bars, like I have something that's there throughout the song just to like make the rhythm a rhythm within a rhythm. I don't know what the fuck how Vapor Cruise made that, but I use that, and now I'm using that all the time. That sample is so good.
Oh yeah, that thing's fucking dope. Vapor Cruise, yeah, shout out to Vapor Cruise in chat. I forget, do you stream Vapor Cruise?
Stream sometimes, like once every 6 years.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gotten a chance to catch a Vapor Cruise stream. You gotta start streaming again, buddy. Then I can get you on here. But that's cool. I mean, I think this is really interesting because it shows where your kind of thematic style exists throughout tracks, even though both of these songs were very different in terms of like what I call like the sonic landscape. And in terms of the emotional context of the songs,
Yeah.
but like the styling and the approach feels very similar. Like it's very identifiably Carter.
So yeah, this song, just like the other song, I started with chords, and I got the feeling that I want out of the chords, and I pick a sound, and that's where I go from. Also, like I use very similar processing on all my chords, just because like that's my sound and that's what I like. Like I don't like people who tell me not to. Like people are always like, you shouldn't copy other artists. Well, it's like I want to make music that I like, so I'm going to copy the music that I like. That's how I see it, at least in my mind.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like if I like someone's music, I'm going to copy their style because I like their music. So
Oh, yeah.
that's just how I see it.
Well, I mean that's a good way to kind of move into like how you start tunes. Like let's say today you were going to start a brand new track from scratch. Like as you just said, you start with the chords. But like, what is your like? What's your mindset? How far do you usually get into a session? What's your workflow like in the very beginning of the project? Could you talk about that?
So yeah, and I'll usually pick a key. I'm funny. Like I don't just write chords. Like I pick a key and I want to make a song in that key. Because each key has a very specific feeling. And before I only wrote in like 2 or 3 keys because every song I wanted to make was in that feel. So like originally I wrote pretty much everything in like D sharp minor or F minor or C minor. I wrote in a lot because C minor is very poppy. And C minor to me is like a really good place to start with like my kind of music. And you can use 3 chords, and like that's like in my ears at least, with C minor I can use 3 chords and it resolves the best. Like it sounds the most pleasing to me if I just use 3 chords. But other scales, I don't know. Like now I'm doing a lot of like major scales, but they're very weird. Like I'm using a ton of borrowed chords now.
Yeah.
I'm using a lot of like very weird voicings in chords. Like I don't like if it's a C, whatever, C, E, G, maybe it'll be, I'll just like flip all the notes around, or if like I'll make like a 13th and I'll just like fuck all the notes up and just keep the C as my bass note, you know?
Okay, for sure. Do you try and think about like extended harmony at all? Like, do you prefer like just pure triads? Do you lean towards like 7th chords or 9th chords?
I hate triads. I definitely lean towards like 9ths and like 7ths. I like very. The only time I ever use a triad is not even a true like a triad, right? Like a C7 or whatever. You can get away with like using 3 notes or whatever. I'll do that, but that's very rare.
Okay, for sure.
I think that's the best way to resolve, because right, like your home. Like to me, I resolve usually on the home or my 3rd chord.
Yeah,
Is my home, and that's like the chord that I will fuck up the least.
I'm with that. So it's like I mean, because I know from watching you stream, you've been trying to kind of take some influence from jazz, harmony, and Shroom is going to get mad at me, but you're doing the jazz thing, you have the 2-5-1.
Yeah, I do a lot of 2-5-1. I think that keeping it simple is best, right? Like
Yeah.
I've been trying to like write like really crazy chord progressions, but then I just can never get the cleanest sound that I want. Like I think that like fucking whatever it's called, dissonance is cool and all, but I don't know. I would much rather like a very pleasing to listen to song.
Absolutely. Well, it's like, what would you say for people who are like having trouble figuring out how to start a track? Like for someone who's really kind of stuck with an empty DAW.
Go to get samples of chord progressions, right? Just download 500 chord progression samples and just copy those bitches and like find out what chords are in that sample, right? Like just keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. Copy that chord progression and then fuck with the voicings, right? Because you can't copyright a chord progression, so it doesn't matter, right? Unless your chord progression is bonkers, like it's gonna be awesome just to copy it because somebody probably spent a lot of time coming up with that chord progression and it saves you time to be creative elsewhere too.
Absolutely.
But I think that another good way for me to start a song is like I'll find maybe like drums. I'll do start with drums sometimes, but I usually only start with drums if I have like a very like I already know essentially what I'm gonna write. Like if I already know that I want to write something that's like a lo-fi song, then I'm just gonna start with drums because that's gonna be the hardest part for me.
Oh, for sure. Well,
So
like, well, with that, like, when you're trying to go from like the initial seed to, let's say, like a finished arrangement, maybe not a done song, but like something that you think is playable. Like, what's your process like for that?
so like something that is like finished.
I mean, I wouldn't say like finished, but it's like the thing that's like it's no longer a seed and it's now a song. Or do you find yourself getting the song completely arranged in like the first couple sessions?
I can get I'm weird. If I don't finish the whole idea or at least structure of the song in the first one or two sessions that I sit down and work on it, 90% of the time that's gonna be a forever whip. That's what I like to call those. It's a forever whip. Like I have to get the entire. That doesn't like copy and pasting is fine. Like I'll get the drop down and I'll copy and paste it, and then I'll come back to it, and I will change up the second drop completely. But then I at least have like the base of it, right? Because I don't want my drops to be vastly different. I just want them to be different enough to where it'd be like, oh, the second drop's the one where he has the vocal in it, or the second drop's the one where his bass line is doing something different, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, is referencing like how big is referencing? I guess in that way, like
I think referencing is the well for me. Actually, like I would say all but one of the artists I reference are essentially copy and paste drops. I mean, they change like maybe the lead, but like a lot of people I reference, the drops are all very similar, or the song has one drop and then progresses forever. Like a lot of my songs will do that. There'll be one drop and then the song will progress forever. Maybe the drums come back in the same way, but like everything else in the whole song will just progress forever. And those are songs that I can finish, right? Like, so those ones, maybe it'll take 3 or 4 sessions, but most of the time, if I'm making something that's accessible, like this song, then I probably will just like copy and paste a drop and then fill up the bridge, and then the whole song evolves from there.
Oh, for sure. Well, with that, like, how do you get to a point where you call a track done? Because like Ilyuha in chat was asking, like, how do you know when a track is done? Like when you don't need to mix it anymore, when you don't need to do any more songwriting or production. Like, how do you get to that point? How do you, in essence, convince yourself that the song's finished?
I go and I make sure I listen to it on every device I have. I listen to it in my car. I listen to it on my phone. I have like a shitty pair of headphones I listen to it on. I have like some shitty speakers I listen to it on. And I just notice if anything sticks out. And if on my first or second listen, maybe I'll listen to it only twice. If I can listen to my song twice and go, yeah, sounds good, then I'm going to release it. But if I listen to it more than twice, of course, I'm going to start noticing things that I wish I changed. Because I probably listened to the song in actuality like 1,000 times, hitting play, changing an element.
Yeah.
But whatever. But if I can like call it done and then listen to it twice and nothing like really sticks out, then I'll call it good.
I dig that.
That's my test. Yeah.
Okay. And then do you have any tips for people who like are having trouble getting to that point? Like, do you have any techniques that you use to just like get a track done?
Mix as you go. Like when you make a sound, don't ever make a sound and be like, I'm just making this because I need to fill up more space. Like I'm just making this because someone told me I need this. No, like you should make a sound and be like, this has a specific purpose. And then as you do that, you're going to notice like, oh, I already made a mid bass. Oh, I already made a sub. Oh, I already made a really warm chords. You're going to be like, oh, I don't need to anymore. So then it's like, oh, maybe I'll just turn them up, right? And that'll help you get closer and closer to the done goal, because then you have all the pieces, and now you're just like tweaking them, right? Like maybe they haven't fell into place just perfect yet, and now you're just finishing them.
Absolutely. Awesome. Is there anything else? Because I know you said you got to get going soon, so I don't want to...
Yeah, I got to go to work at like 3 something. I got to leave. But
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has any questions. I can answer any questions about how I finish music or my process or...
Yeah, so I'd say if anyone in chat
or
wants
labels.
to... Yeah, I mean, I do kind of want to get into that. I have like 2 little follow-up questions, and then just open it up for like talking about music business and like questions and answers. So if anyone in chat has any questions for Carter, now's a great time to start throwing it in the chat. And kind of going off of what Damsey just wrote, and kind of one of my questions, like, do you have any like additional tips or advice or techniques that you think other producers should know, like how to get past writer's block and stuff like that?
My trick to getting past writer's block is I do something else creative. I work in Blender. I'm an English major in college, and like a lot of stuff is just writing. So like I will just write for like homework right now. Like I think the time I run into the least amount of writer's block is when I'm in class, because like during the semester, because then I have another creative outlet, and that's a different kind of creativity. And like I listen to music while I do it, and I get very inspired. Another really good way to get past writer's block is just force yourself to get an idea, right? So just like, even if you think everything else sucks, but just like focus on getting like a chord progression that you really like, and just lay down some drums. And even if they suck, just like build an idea out that's 60 seconds. I don't want to say any amount of bars, but just make a 60-second idea, and that's going to help a lot.
Oh, for sure. I dig that. This is a bit of a shift, but this is something I'm curious from everyone. Like, what do you think about other DAWs? Do you use any DAWs besides Ableton? Are there any other DAWs you like or dislike? This is the time to get spicy if you want to.
I've used like almost every DAW. I've used Reaper, I've used Bitwig, I've used FL Studio, I've used Pro Tools. I've done a bunch of shit with like every DAW. I think each DAW is for specific kind of people, which is funny because Shroom to me strikes me as like you or I or Mr. Bill, like very like linear thinking, like if this then that, and like I'm even though like I have a creative major in college and like stuff like that, I'm a very logical person. Like my whole writing passion is technical writing, and I want to write about like science and like manuals, and like things have to be a certain way. And like I think FL is designed for people who are like maybe more creatively inclined, in the sense that like you have to go back and route something to a mixer track, right? Like you write a pattern and then you have to go and route it, right? Where in Ableton, you just lay down the MIDI and it's on the track and the instrument's there and everything is left to right, like very normal, like very logical. Like I always say that the Ableton is the logical DAW. Like it's very left to right. Bitwig's very similar. I like Bitwig. I just don't like how Bitwig looks. I don't know. I don't like how Bitwig looks. I think Reaper is for absolute psychos, or Reason, my bad. And along with Cubase, I think if you use Cubase or Reason, you're probably a serial killer. What else? I'm trying to think. I don't know. I just think everyone should try a different DAW, because funny thing about me is I did not feel good about music, and I went from Bitwig to Ableton, and something changed. Like, because I just felt like I was learning it all over again. Like it was all new, and I could be as creative, and I felt free. Like, I don't know.
I dig it.
Shroom uses both. Yeah, I always just see him in FL, so I didn't know.
Oh yeah, he uses plenty of DAWs. So yeah, definitely a creative serial killer. That sounds like you, Shroom, for sure. Well, I guess we could answer a couple of your Q&A questions. If you want to talk about like music business stuff, like marketing, branding, how to develop your career in music, that would be cool.
Something here's a super. Are you always happy with your songs when you finish them? No, I'm never. This is super fucked up, but I'm never happy. Whenever I release a song, I'm always like, man, I wish I changed this. No one's gonna like this. This song is not that good. But when I'm making the song, I'm like, this slaps. This is the best song I've ever made. I say that every time I make a new song. I'm like, this is the best song I've ever made. Every single time, like a week in. And then I listen to it for like a week. And then I'm like, oh, okay, like, kind of don't like this. And then music business wise, so for me, it's like everything has happened by chance. I got super lucky. My biggest opportunity lately was complete luck. Someone stumbled across me and somehow wandered their way into my email inbox, and I thought it was fake, bro. When people from a real established label or collective or whatever actually emails you, it's gonna sound like a normal person, right? So the email seemed like one of those like Nigerian prince almost emails. Except for, I mean, the grammar was good, but like there was no capitalization, like there was no punctuation. It was just like, what's up, man? Like, I heard your song. I really dig it. Do you have anything else you're working on? Like, can you send me some other stuff? And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I definitely thought it was just like, or like one of those emails. Like, I get a lot of these emails. It's like, pay $20 and be on the front page of our website for 5 seconds.
Yep.
Anyways, but this email was the sketchiest shit ever. And I responded and he goes, oh, I'm so sorry for being sketch. And I was like, nah, dude. I was like, I just thought this wasn't real. Like, no way. And then it just like exploded. Madison, I leaked it like yesterday.
It's secret.
But I shouldn't have after I went back and read the emails.
Oops.
I definitely shouldn't have said who it was. So, but anyways, it was like
Delete the bot.
it's a. I think that luck. People hate me for saying this. I think luck is the biggest thing. Luck and your image, right? As long as you aren't posting like dick pics on Twitter and your songs are pretty consistent in sound quality, like you have a better chance.
Oh yeah, no, I actually I agree with you 100%. I feel like a big part of making it in the music industry is just being lucky enough for people to stumble across you and be like, oh, this one sounds interesting.
Exactly.
People taking a chance.
One of my jobs that I do now is I do commercial music, which I can talk about, and like commercial syncs and stuff. And that to me was a complete by chance, accident, fucking act of God, no idea. All of a sudden, I just like got an email, and there's probably 1,000. I don't want to say 1,000, probably 100,000 or 1,000,000 people who are way more suited than I am, who've probably done it before, or at least have made more genres than I have, or are more talented at making certain genres than I am. But somehow I got emailed. And like I know there's people that probably also worked a lot harder than me. Maybe they've been sending out resumes. Maybe they've probably even contacted this company that hit me, you know, and I just find it crazy. I think it's luck. I definitely think I was prepared for my luck, and I definitely think Madison's right. Like, I created my own luck by grinding for years, right? But that's just that's me being ready for the luck, right?
Yeah.
Because tons of people prepare for or try to create their luck. Tons of people put out a song every other day. But I think like being prepared for the luck is cool, but I just don't think it's something you should ever expect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I've always heard it like, you know, what's the cliche thing? Luck is when preparedness meets opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
But like opportunity is something you can to an extent manufacture, but at the end of it, it's like it depends on like your connections, and it depends on the connections of your connections. And there's so many different layers to it, and I agree with Madison. Like you deserve like any opportunity that you're given, because you've definitely worked at it, Carter, and it shows. But I've always enjoyed the fact that you don't have any qualms about like kind of keeping the illusion of, you know, if you just grind and get your work in, you are going to make it. And it's
No,
not really.
I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I believe in that because that that's I don't know. That sets people up for expectation, and I don't believe in that. I believe that you should like I still like it's I don't want to call it imposter syndrome, but it's like even with like opportunities like this, it's like I feel like I don't deserve it. I feel like there's probably a million people who are better than me that deserve it way a bit more than I do. And like yeah, I understand that I've worked hard. It's just like I guess the people I look up to, like the majority of them or the people that I've talked to, it took years. Like a lot of people it's like 6, 7 years, and me it's been like 3 years I've been producing seriously, but like the last 8 months is like when I really made music that was any good, you know?
I feel that.
And I couldn't have done that without my friends though. Like the people in the music community, not only on Twitch, just like everywhere, like that I talk to people who are involved in music, it's like they were all so hard on me, but it was a good way. And like I think it's also a bad thing. I think that like as hard as we are on our friends and as brutally honest, sometimes you gotta tell your friend that this song slaps, otherwise they're gonna get discouraged. Like you just have to every so often tell your friend that they made something good.
Yeah.
Because all my friends like ripped on me all the time, and like even now that I'm seeing success, like even when they tell me a song is good, like it's hard to take. Like
Absolutely.
it's hard to believe it, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's something that I definitely deal with myself. So I think it's something a lot of artists deal with, honestly.
Yeah, and I definitely think some people, and the only reason I say that is I think some people aren't equipped to deal with that. Like I think some people like do better from positive reinforcement, whereas I'm the kind of person that like if everyone tells me something sucks, like I just want to prove them wrong. Like
Yeah.
I just want to be right, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I guess we can kind of end with Descendants' question in chat, and then you can
Yeah.
you can take off.
Have
Descendants said, yeah.
I ever felt like I was not writing for myself? Well, one of my jobs I don't write for myself. I don't. Like one of my jobs I literally write. They send me an example or a reference and then go, "Hey, this is for a car commercial. We need a song." So I will go and I will just like listen to the reference and I'll try to make something like it and I'll send it to them and they'll either like it or they won't. And I'll probably never open that song ever again. So I mean, I'm definitely not writing for myself. But when I write like I call them my Spotify tunes or my pop songs, those I enjoy. As much as people like to rip on pop, I enjoy writing it because making a good pop song, there's so many little things people don't notice, and like how
Absolutely.
clean it is, and like finding the balance between how loud your vocal is and how loud your track is, or making something that's just catchy in itself is so hard. Like that's the kind of I enjoy it. I enjoy it so much.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely agree with that. You know, it's something that I think it's easy in especially producer communities to kind of like get a little bit kind of circle jerky.
Yeah.
And I feel like being able to take a step back and be like, well, what does everyone else in the world want to listen to?
Yeah,
is a good
exactly.
thing.
And like you're making people always say this, like make music for yourself. Well, I am, right? But it makes me happy when other people like my shit. So I'm making music for myself when other people like my shit, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's a good way to be self-serving, but also, you know, do what is maybe not best for what some people expect is needed, but what is going to keep the community sustained. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I guess like to wrap up like
Yeah.
the plan and like a good if I have any advice for anyone, if an opportunity does come your way, right? I'm not saying don't take it. Like every opportunity is a good one, but make sure that you're ready for it. Because let's say Nexi told me this a long time ago, and I've lived by this. Let's say that your song gets on Trap Nation, for example. And you have all these like this clout now, and people are expecting a follow up. Like you want to ride that wave, right? Marshmallow is a good example. You want to ride that wave of like huge exposure that you have now. Well, if you don't have anything else to release and now you have to come up with something, that next song that you're forcing out is probably going to be really similar to the last song you released and probably not as good. So what I would do is bank. Like I have what I call 6 months worth of music stored so that I have 6 months after I release something and ride Get That Wave, where I have stuff that's stored and I can write new stuff, and I'm always ahead of myself. It's like back stock, right? Like at a grocery store, like they keep the things that sell more in the back because they know that it's probably going to sell out before the next load comes in. You know,
So
there are multiple whips in different genres.
Oh goodness.
No, I will never. I'm against aliases.
Interesting. Okay.
As funny as that sounds, I'm against aliases.
You want everything to go off as Carter.
Yeah, for myself. I think it works for other people, right? Like Marshmallow is .com. And he
Yeah.
started out as like a hybrid, like trap bro step kind of guy. And then switched to Marshmallow. But I think that was more of a marketing one because .com. I mean, .com's a really easy name. Like, there's definitely not there, but he had like kind of like that bro persona with him. And he realized that like the music industry is more pop focused and Marshmallow is like way more relatable.
Oh yeah, and way softer. No pun intended.
Yeah, I think an alias is good for when shit hits the fan. Yo, I agree with that, right? So like say you like get into some, I don't know, whatever drama, and like you want to start putting on a helmet, good. But I think if you're like me and not a big producer, or you're like, I'm gonna use Nexi as an example, because Nexi wanted to make a fucking pop alias. It's like, bro, you've released 3 songs, right? You have less than 10 million views and like, or 1 million monthly listeners. You have less than 1 million monthly listeners. It doesn't matter what fucking genre you go to, like people are still only listening to those songs, right? You could start a new alias. It's going to be like starting over anyways on your current, because it doesn't matter. You aren't like a Rez. You haven't established yourself in that genre. You aren't like Skrillex, you know? Like Skrillex only is known for making bass tunes, and like if Skrillex released like a Kawaii Future bass song, like everyone would lose their fucking minds. But that's different. Like he has years of establishment, and I think if you don't have years of establishment in something, then let's just call it like a real community, like a real people community. Like there's no point.
No, I agree with that. I know you got to get out of here, so I don't want to keep you any longer. But thank you so much for doing this.
Of course. I'm just Carter on Twitch.
Yeah.
And everything's under my channel, so you can
yeah.
find me. By the way,
Everyone, check out Carter.
I have a check mark.
Yep.
If you didn't know.
Checkmark Carter. There you go.
So, all right.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
Guys, everyone have a good one. If anyone also has any questions, you can always just like hit me up on Twitter or in my stream. I'm gonna probably stream tonight, so you can hang by tonight.
Yeah.
Appreciate everyone asking questions. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed just like talking about music. I love it more than anything.
Oh yeah, I really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah. Have a good day.
You too. Take care. Alrighty, that is it for the interview. Thanks again to Carter for hanging out with us. This was fun. A very different perspective from Bill, but also a lot of really similar thoughts. So that was super fun. I apologize for the issues we were having in the webcam thing. I'm gonna try and get a better solution for next week's interview, which I can say is going to be with Sage with Copper Queen. If anyone is unfamiliar, definitely go check out Copper Queen. I'm gonna go link to her Twitch. She's a really, really talented producer, singer, songwriter. Yeah, we'll try and get a better webcam setup. We'll try and get better quality audio and make sure that next time things are not as janky. But I appreciate everyone sticking around nonetheless.